All right, good morning, everybody. Appreciate you being here. Definitely you're excited about the results of Wednesday and the class coming in here, the freshman class of the 26. Seeing those guys, kind of all come together. It's been a lot of hard work. Appreciate all the different departments, coaches, everybody that played a part and role in attracting. I think is a very talented group, a group that addresses a lot of needs. For this team, we've had. You look over the last 3 years, the 24, 25, 26 classes. It's been productive groups, and for this signing class, I think it's going to absolutely fit in that same world where we have some game changers that I think will be joining the program and have an opportunity to be able to do that early in their careers. We were able to address, some positions of need, but also you'll be able to, enhance rooms with guys that have, I think elite level potential, and to be able to attack that in a variety of different ways. And very very versatile group. But you look at this. At this group of guys that are coming in, and we've got guys that have been on winning football teams. I think we got 12 guys within it that are competing for they're still competing for state championships. Guys that have tremendous work ethic, the right mindset. Guys that want to be difference makers here at Florida State. And so we're really pleased with how it's all come together, and excited about what the future holds for this signing class and the continued development of the guys that we have currently on the roster. You've been just starting here today with kind of my exit meetings with players, and that's started off really well. Been meetings with players and position coaches, and great focus for the steps that are necessary as we're moving forward, and obviously the plan of attack for each guy, and that'll continue into next week. And I got a lot of belief in the guys I'm getting to coach, and their mindset and approach for what's ahead for us. But I think Wednesday was a great step in the right direction. Adding over 30 guys that are going to bring skill, ability, and the right mindset here into this program. To help us as we work to ascend. But with that, I'll take questions.
It sounds like Coach Surtain's not coming back, and if that's the case, if you can confirm that, if that's not the case, how involved was Coach White or other coaches in terms of recruiting defensive backs that may have been?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, grateful for Pat and the contributions over the last few years. He's a great man. Obviously done a lot within the program. It's as we work as a team. I mean, it is recruiting is not by any one person, and there's a lot of different dynamics that go into it. But obviously Tony has a significant role, in every defensive player. That's something that he's, I think, done a great job of, is being able to paint the picture, the vision, the plan for the individuals that are coming in. Obviously, Evan and Pat, there are a lot of cross recruiting of guys that at corner, safety, and kind of how that all goes. And it's really a team effort throughout the staff. And so but Pat's has done a really good job just for the investment that he's poured in, and grateful for the time that I get to work with him, and definitely wishing him all the best as he moves forward, and as we move forward here within our staff, and the things that we need to do and where we need to go.
I believe you signed 9, might be 10 defensive linemen. Can you just talk about the decision to go heavy with numbers at that position, what you guys were looking for in a variety of body types?
Yeah, I mean, I think when you look at, just the versatility of those guys up front, guys are at all different places. Some guys that, I think will have an opportunity to come in and be an early impact. Some guys that, are have the right physical traits, skill, ability that just will looking forward to seeing their development in what they're able to do. And then there was a couple guys that address specific needs, and when you look at Cam, signing Cam Brooks, it was a something that came upon here late in the process. His he's gone through his journey. He's seen different places. Obviously there was a change in place in coaching staff to where he was committed, and I think it opened his eyes to different opportunities. You got to see, but when that became a path as a guy that I think has a high ceiling. I think he's, you look at what he was able to do, as a senior year, I think he's over 10 sacks, was healthy through the season, was able to really grow in what that is. So I'm excited about adding him, and that was something that, when you look at the number of guys, I think they all address certain needs. And, as we continue to, evaluate our roster, we continue to know that for what we're going to do, high school wise, for anything that potentially they're in the portal, you got to check a lot of the boxes. And I think this group of defensive linemen have extremely high ceilings. And like I said, some of these guys will be able to come in, and I absolutely believe you'll help impact you early in our career. And they've seen it done. Obviously look at Mandrell, Daryl, and even for Kevin and the 4 games he played in, they see the production that can be had by freshmen, and they want to be a part of that, as well as leaving their mark here within this program.
Brendan? There was a social media post from Tommy Castellanos, attorney. Looked like he was talking about the waiver process and that being denied. I'm not sure if that was previously, if that was recently, but if you can give us an update on where that stands and where his future with the program is right now.
Yeah, his waiver was denied, and I know Tommy's going through his process of fighting for opportunity. We support Tommy and being able to explore all things that he wants to and needs to do for his potential eligibility and playing. But I know that's something that he's going through the process with.
Coach, you really got a really good receivers class coming in. A lot of different skills there, but seemed to be speed was coveted in that group. But I guess talk about that group of guys, because certainly it adds to what you already have.
Yeah, referencing the defensive line, the receiving group, I think is it's elite. We were able, some of our top targets that we started off, a year ago with, and even further beyond that, you're seeing guys that have grown, throughout their high school careers, guys that are productive. They do have great speed. They have great, talent, ability. I think when they watch this offense and just the emergence of and the importance of the big play at the receiver position, when we've played at our best, that's a position that really does a great job of carrying us. And we've seen your redshirt freshmen get opportunity to get in there and play. You see even a guy like Deuce coming in and having his by far his best career throughout his college journey, and so you've kind of seen it from all different lenses for them, and who they are, the work ethic that they bring, the explosiveness that they have, and the versatility as well. I think it's an absolute home run of a position group, and excited to get these guys on campus and watching them compete with the guys that we have that are currently here as well.
In regards to Tommy, sorry, I didn't know we were doing that. My fault. My bad. I'm not in it. I'm not with it today. In regards to Tommy, the quarterback position, you can't wait for something like that. You obviously have Kevin, you have Brock, you had a recruit coming in. Where do you see that position? Will it be those 3? Do you foresee going into the portal to try to get another one?
Yeah, obviously with Tommy's situation, that's got to be unique to itself. So we're gonna move forward, for what we believe is best for the competitive aspect of our quarterback position. Excited about the guys that we have. I think they've all shown flashes and moments. I know I've talked a lot about Kevin and his time as a true freshman. Dealt with a little bit of injuries there later in the year, but I'm excited about that room, and I do think they have high potential in what they can do and what they bring, and I'm going to evaluate all parts of what we can do to put ourselves in a position to compete for a championship. And, that's next year. That's, all of our focus is, short-term, long-term goals of where we want to be and what we want to do. And I'm excited about, the talent and the ability that we have in our quarterback room, and just will always look at, things that we can potentially enhance, any position group. But, obviously that's such a critical one for our football team.
This is the largest signing class I think you've brought in at Florida State, first time in the 30s. Is that just because of the new 105 scholarship stuff, or is there any other reason behind?
No, I
bringing
mean,
that
I
big
think
of a class?
there's different elements to it. Yes, having 105 is expanding that, but also, you look at everybody's at a different spot in their process, and there's some guys that we were able to sign that might be a little either newer to the game, but possess athleticism, size, strength, different dynamics that I think can come in and have huge growth potential. You look at the offensive line group. We got a couple guys, with that. As some of the bigger human beings that we've had with like Luke and Nico, I mean those guys, but they haven't played just a ton of football, and they have the physical traits, they have all of that. But you able to get guys in here that I think Herb will do an outstanding job with, and in their process, and when you look at the size of our class, I mean it was just we found I think it's a very talented group that's going to carry and elevate our program, here for years to come. And, we've done a good job, these last 3 classes, with being able to get guys that have been able to impact early, I say early within, either freshman year, redshirt freshman year, as true sophomores. And, I'm excited that I think this group really, has similar capabilities, but with, just really a bigger number. And so I'm excited about, just the variety of guys and how we were able to address, really every position in that. Some positions, we wanted to throw, a lot of numbers at it. And, in today's age, there's opportunity for movement for players, and there's some, we're having some serious conversations here, this week, and we're going to continue to make sure that we have the positions, the depth, and all of the things that are necessary, in place, for our program, and with guys that I think have elite level ceilings.
I actually was going to ask you about the offensive line. This was your first cycle with Coach Hand going through the evaluation process. Was there anything interesting about his approach to evaluating players, and is there any thought to any of these guys being able to either contribute early or?
Yeah, I mean, obviously as you go through it, there's certain certain characteristics and traits that you want to have in those guys. We've got a good group of young players, in that O-line room. There's no secret. We're looking to, we'll look to bring in, some guys from the transfer portal, and to add to the competition of what we have, and our players know that. They see it, but. With that being said, making sure that we have, guys that have come in, much like this freshman class. I fully expect, 3-4 guys, in this last year's freshman class that are absolutely going to be competing for time this next year. And you look at guys like Jonathan Daniels, Lucas Simmons that have been in the program for a few years, and it is their opportunity to go take that jump. And I've seen the work they put in. I see the confidence that they're growing in. But it's going to be competitive. And if you do bring in guys that that have maybe a little bit more experience. I mean, you got to go get it done on the grass. You got to go show exactly where you are. You got to go, earn those positions. And as you have maybe some younger players that that are able to develop, are able to compete. I think that's a great thing. And some guys that. You look back a year ago, and probably on signing day there wasn't a whole lot of expectation from anybody on the outside for the Sears to come in and do what they did. For Sandman to he was our backup center all year. We were able to play him for 4 games, and for what that was, and we'll see. He's got some steps he's got to take, but he came in and put himself in a position. Probably not the most celebrated recruit that we had, but a guy that I'm excited about what his future can be. So everybody's you got to find those characteristics, those traits, and I think Herb does a wonderful job of that. And you also see the development of the guys that we have within this team, and being able to support that with every guy that's coming in, whether it's high school, whether it's a transfer, and so I like the group and the potential that they have.
Coach, in regard to the quarterback, having to sign Jaden O'Neal, do you see a guy like him having to be in that mix of competing for the starting job for the returning players?
Yeah, I think Jaden came out here a couple of years ago. We had a great, I remember him coming to one of our camps, and it was an extremely talented quarterback camp that was here, and you'll be able to see. I mean, his arm talent, what he's able to do, the throws he's able to make. I mean, it's really impressive. He's a big kid. He moves well. He is. Even in the course of this last year, he moved to Mustang High School there in Oklahoma, and he is talking to their coaches, and just the way that he transitioned and just embraced every part of that football team, with the ownership of the relationships with his offensive line, his teammates, that experience, I think, was a great one for him. And you saw the impact that he could make on a football team, and you saw that just his willingness to engulf himself with all things that a program could provide for him, and really excited about his potential, excited about what he can be, because I've seen it in person, and I think he's got a high ceiling to what he can do, and he'll get to grow through the experiences of being a young quarterback, but he's got the right mindset, right approach, and definitely has ability.
Coach, the two guys at the top of the class, Chuck Hennon and Isaiah Williams, they've spoken a lot about what Florida State means to them just independently, but also their talent on the field. What can they be? I mean, are those guys, you talked about the Desires coming in, making an instant impact. Do you feel like those are guys that can do that?
Yeah, absolutely. And those guys are, there's an expectation, them, you look at, I think Devin Carter's a guy that's, in that mix, Jason Lopez. I mean, you can go through a bunch of guys that I think have talent, ability to be able to come in and make an early impact. But, those two, there's no doubt that is the expectation for them. And when you look at Isaiah, it's a long process, long journey. But, I remember getting a chance to go watch one of his basketball games, and just the way he competes, his athletic ability. Unfortunately, had a knee injury, going in, from the summer. But he's well on track for where we want him to be, and just his rehab and all things. But he's a special talent, and I think he's been as big as he is. He's been clocked into 4.4s. And I think even when he ran that, he was wearing sweatpants and maybe touched his toes before he ran the 40. But he's what you want at that position when it's the size, speed, physicality, and he'll come in and have to learn the game and continue to develop through that as he gets the spring. Chuck is once again, long corner playmaker, does done it offensive side, defensive side, does have great speed, and that's something that we looked at our skill positions, and I know we referenced earlier, we wanted to continue to enhance the speed that we have, and guys that when you got great length, but be able to accelerate and make plays on the ball is critical, and I think he's going to be a guy that will definitely come in and challenge for a spot early.
Beyond Pat, have there been any other staff changes?
We're continuing to work through the process of our staff, of kind of some of the organizational aspects of what we're doing, but I have nothing to comment on that right now.
And just as a point of clarity with that, is the expectation for Tony and Gus to remain as the coordinators?
Yes, there's not been any change in regards to that, and like I said, we're just going to continue to push forward with all things, and really nothing to comment in regards to that.
Coach, I think historically on legacy commitments, signees, you've talked about recruiting them as the young man and not the son of an FSU alum, but to have so many young men in this class whose dads played at Florida State, Jonah's big brother played at Florida State, what were those relationships like? Why were they the right men for you in this class?
Well, they have to earn the opportunity, and there's plenty of past players that have sons that play football. But you got to find the ones that fit the program, that fit a need that we have. Guys that with everything in their experience have opened that door for themselves. And we really have tried to meet them at where they are. You take the dads out of the equation. I mean, it's a great thing knowing that, hey, it's in their blood. It's who they are. There's going to be a passion, for this place that they've grown up with. I mean, you see that. We talked about that with Deuce, AJ Cromartie. I mean, watching, even like him. He's a young freshman that's redshirting this year. But man, you feel his presence on a practice field, and he's a guy that I've been really excited about. But it's every bit of his love and desire of putting on garnet and gold on a daily basis. And it's what he's watched, it's what he's known, what he's cared about. And so when you see that from these guys that are, being recruited from a multitude of schools, I tell them to do the same thing. Like you can be a fan of the place, you make sure it's the right fit for you. And, if that is if that all comes together for us and for you, well, now we got a chance to do something special, because I know it's in your blood. I know that it's something that means something to you beyond just hey, here's a logo of a school. And so I mean, I'm just grateful that our past brought us together and that it was the right fit on both sides. And I think we got some special players in that group that are legacies of Florida State, and definitely going to work to represent this program the right way.
With Jason Lopez, he talked about during the process about you guys giving him a chance to play football and basketball. Is that always a case-by-case situation, or are you just? I mean, I know you had other two sport guys.
No, for sure, and you got to be different. You got to be special. I mean, I'm not, and I think that Luke and the basketball staff did an extraordinary job. As we both recruited Jason for the opportunity here, and he's a guy that I think fits the bill. He's done it his entire life, but his work ethic, his drive, the way he's able to balance that is outstanding. He's got an incredible family that supports him in it, and then he embraces the challenge. Because plenty of people can talk about wanting to do it, but the sacrifice for the individual to get it done is extreme. And we've seen that with Mackay. We've seen that with some of the guys that it doesn't go as well. I mean, I'm not looking for any player to come here and just to be a participant in either sport. I want them to help the sport win a championship, and that's the expectation. I think Jason can do that within both sports, and there's a strong desire from our basketball staff. There's an unbelievable desire for our football staff, and man, we met there in the middle, and it just happened to be the right fit in both instances for him and what we're going to be able to accomplish here.
Trey Bell was the first commitment in the class. Can you just speak on his loyalty, the kind of young man he is, the fact that he goes to a school that hasn't produced a lot of kids like him, and just the person he
It's
is?
a great. I appreciate you even asking that question, because Trey is I remember early in his career, I got a chance to watch him. We actually doing a satellite camp down at FAU, and I remember going out to the camp and seeing him work, and just small school. I mean, but his. I think he has great talent. He's been a great player there. Very versatile in all the things he does, because he's been everything for them. And I think he's, when you see the player, you get to know the young man. I mean, you talk about loyalty. Well, you talk about loyalty to a commitment. I mean, he's been loyal to a place, and that's him at Goldman and what he's done there for that football program. They had a great run here this this fall of making as far as I think they've made it in a really long time, but also his loyalty to them. And obviously in the high school world, there's recruiting too. I mean, and there's been plenty of options for him to be able to go to other places. But he wanted to leave his mark. And when it came to the recruiting process, ups, downs, other schools, he's heard it and seen it all. But he wants to be a Florida State Seminole. He wants to be a part of this program. He wants to be able to leave his mark and elevate his position in this place, through the experience, and I've got high expectations for what he'll be able to do.
Things seem to be changing year to year, rev share, house settlement. What are the crucial things a head coach needs from his front office personnel department, and what would you like to see change in developing those processes?
Well, I mean, I think it's the awareness of all different dynamics. I mean, you have, from the scouting world to the on-campus experience to the rev share to the financial component of what it is. I mean, there's you got a cap that you get to now work and balance. So it takes a lot. And it's got to be a very unified, coordinated approach. Got to have great organization. And it takes resources. It takes resources in staff. It takes resources in support of how that is aligned. And I think that's one of the things that we are evaluating continually, of just making sure that we're as efficient and effective as we can possibly be to attract the best and the brightest here to Florida State. And there's a lot of different components, and it's a massive project. But make sure we have the right people in place for that. With all the skills necessary, but then to be able to attack it with a coordinated approach.
You talked about Isaiah a little bit. That linebacker group, I know Caleb didn't get to play this year with the injuries, but you bring in his brother Noah, and then Maycock and that group. How do you think any of those guys might be able to help?
I do. I mean, and I think that's a position we want to continue to increase our speed. And I think you look at the 4 guys we signed. Dalen Green here also. I mean, all 4 of those guys can run, and I mean they're runners, they're hitters. They can play in space. We feel like that group will elevate, and it's a position of need. Obviously we've had some with Ethan's situation here this last year. I mean, that was something that nobody you never want to see with any young man, and I'm believing for everything in front of him, as he's rehabbing. But it does, it puts even that much more, strain on a position to, with needing guys that are ready to capitalize on opportunity. And we got a good group of guys that are coming back that I think could be great leaders. But we got to push. And I think when you look at Noah, Karan, Dalen, I mean those. On top of Isaiah, who I mentioned, that is a fast, playmaking, explosive, hard-hitting group, and they have shown it in their production at every stage of their career. Karan played as a freshman at Miami Central, at a high level, and that's the first time I ever got to see him. I remember going by and said, "Look at this freshman we got," and from that point on, he's been like my guy. That's the guy, and I've told him, throughout every time I could, that I was going to coach him one day, and he's been highly sought after. He's taken, got to go see. I never did, even when, he took an official visit here in the season, he asked me, "What do you think?" I mean, go take it. I'm not worried about that. I know I'm going to coach you. I know this is going to be, we've had this, plan and focus. And so to be able to see him stay the course. And, like I said, we got a great group in that room. I think that was one that, JP, Coach White, I mean, they've done a really nice job of identifying needs, and, we were able to address a lot of those needs with that group.
I know you touched on the defensive line a little bit earlier, but, 2 guys in particular, Ernest Rankins and certainly in JUCO defensive end, Jalen Anderson. How about those guys, and just, what was their traction with them? And then secondly, hear a lot on the recruiting trail when kids talk about FSU, you talk about the Steer twins. That's the thing that really attracts them. How much has that helped you guys as far as the younger guys when you kind of talk to them about FSU?
Yeah, I mean, when you see young production, I mean, that's it definitely helps in all ways. Really at a variety of different positions. And this year we had a lot of freshmen that were playing, either redshirt, true freshmen. I mean, that were not only playing but being very productive in their play. And so, talking about Ernest and Jalen, I mean, those are 2 guys that I think have a great opportunity to impact this team. This year, Ernest, he's just so different with, his length, his measurables, the speed, athleticism. You still saw him even throughout the course of this year take another step in his game, just reactive movements. Defeating blocks. I mean, he's somebody that he's a sponge. He wants to learn. I mean, he'd be on the phone with T Knight, talking about his games, talking about his experiences, just wanting to take a positive step, in his growth. And then Jalen is a guy that, when you watch him play, kind of a little bit of a unique, high school story, but he goes to junior college, extremely productive. He knows how to get to the quarterback, and he's got great length in his arms. Not the tallest guy in the world, but a guy that, you know, can bend, move, I mean, plays physical. You know, he's going to be a guy that needs to be a force for us, and I have full expectation that he will be. And, you know, he's excited about, you know, the opportunity here. I mean, there was, you know, plenty of choices that he could have made, but, you know, he found the right fit, you know, here at Florida State, and, you know, he knows the impact, because that was something that just from our defensive front, from you know, just being able to continue to finish on the quarterback. That's something that we want to elevate as we get into this next year. And I think we got the right guys, and both of them are definitely going to help the cause.
Corey?
Obviously, every coach is excited about their recruiting class, but your first three didn't hit. You didn't hit a lot of home runs in those. I feel like you think last year's class was very good. You have a lot of good players, and you seem very excited about this class. What maybe has changed in the recruiting evaluating part from the last 2 years, and how much of it is the new coaches and Coach White and Coach Knight?
I mean, I think everything plays a role. I mean, the first 2 years, I never got to see him. I mean, we were coming off tough, really hard, you know, seasons, and you have, as a program, and you come in and you're trying to, you know, build the relationships, get a sense of the people, the place, you know, all of it, and then COVID hits and you don't get to go into school for a year and a half. So, like, you don't get to see the kids. You know, a lot of it is what you're hearing, you know, seeing, trying to share a vision of expectation. So you had to take some projections, and that's, I mean, it was what it was. But I mean, you know, I'm grateful for all of those players that have come in. Some of them have turned into players that impacted our program. You know, some of them didn't. And so, you know, I think as you have time, and now Karan Maycock, that is a 4-year recruitment. You know, Devin Carter, 4-year recruitment. I mean, I remember in 8th grade, Devin Carter being out here, you know, going through our camps, and, you know, being here with his dad, and just like seeing him now, the player he is. I think he's as good as there is out there. Like, he is, you know, and to know the process of that, and to know the strengths there is that are going to take immediate, you know, development, and, you know, to be a part of the journey. I mean, you know, Cam Brooks, like, I mean, he's 30 minutes down the road, and you know what? The recruitment saw the ups and downs. I mean, his career saw the ups and downs. Always a productive player. Had a couple of, you know, setbacks with injuries and challenges and just things that, you know, of all of it. But, like, the smile on his face on Wednesday after he signed those papers, and knowing that he's been here so many times that we've, you know, but now we're going to get to do it together. Like, that's recruiting. Now, you know, he gets to pour it all in, so do I. And so when you look at that and you have that journey, which we had in the 24 class, which we had in, you know, really, you know, the year of the 23 class. I mean, it is, you know, or, you know, 24, 25, how that all plays out. But, you know, that's what makes recruiting. And that's where, when you see the passion, the drive, and your determination of somebody that, you know, even others might not always get the value of, but you see how it fits. I mean, you're willing to take a chance on one, where you're willing to, you know, to you know, open the door, and, you know, I think great things can happen. And so, you know, I think we hit in a variety of different ways. You know, some of the best, highly rated, best, all that, and great. I mean, I don't sit there and like, hey, we're going to recruit this kid just because of this. It's got to fit. And but being able to go through that journey with these kids, and knowing what it's going to look like when they get here, and then also having some that, you know, like Big Nico. I mean, he came on an international tour for you know summer camp, and you know, basically unofficial visit, and you're sitting there like, I mean, he's half a world away, but you get to invest the time, you get to you know, spend a day with them, you get a sense of, you watch all the workouts, the relationships that you have are surrounding it, and even because of, you know, that, you know, a door opportunity presented itself, and man, I'm excited about that one too. But you know, it's you know, that's what recruiting's all about, and the more and more you get to have, you know, those type of interactions, it's still about getting the right people for this program.
Last one, Liam.
You touched on Cam being 30 minutes up the road. You got a pair of guys from Gadsden County and a kid from Blountstown as well, and Amari Thomas. Just being able to keep guys locally, maybe an understanding of the program. Not saying that the other guys don't, but, you know, there's something different when you grow up around the program, Doak in your shadow. What does that mean to have those guys come here?
I mean, I think it's critical, and you know, it's, you know, you see it a lot, you know, and around. I mean, there's sometimes the hardest kids are the closest kids, and they know everything about you, you know everything about them, and sometimes they think they got to go away, and the one thing with me is I know it has to work, like I know it has to fit. I mean, the worst thing you can do is bring somebody that's from local that doesn't have success, and there's been plenty of local guys that I think are good and talented players, but if they're not going to fit here, it's going to hurt us for years to come. And just with all, because everybody knows them, and so those 4 guys I think are absolutely the right ones. They're guys that I know are going to pour everything they have into this program. Even with Amari, he went through his journey, being committed. Got in the summer, different opportunities that are out there for whatever circumstances, reasons, all that, but. At the end of the day, it's a belief in what it is, and as he got to see the season unfold, he started thinking about his future and where does he want to be, what does he want it to look like, and it brought him back home. And I know these are, they're 17, 18, 19-year-old kids. I mean, it's very difficult. The decision-making process. It's difficult for colleges in the decision-making process. But when you have guys that have been around, that you get to know, that you get to care about, you truly kind of fall in love with who they are and what you believe they can be. I mean, it's great to see it all come together, and we got a wonderful group of you guys locally, and continue to enhance for future years, because the guys that we've had from this area, they've all hit. I mean, they've turned into really good players for us, and have high expectations, just like I got for these 4 that just signed.
All right, thank you, Coach.
Thank you, guys.